I call Keith Block.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Green Party will be fully supporting this bill. Since the horrific February 22nd earthquake, New Zealand has been mourning for those who tragically were killed in that earthquake, and our hearts are very much with their families at this very difficult time. And in a myriad of ways, New Zealanders have been extending their support to those who survived and those whose lives have been very badly affected. I think the support takes many different forms, more than I think I've seen in New Zealand for as long as I can remember. Everything from the official response from Civil Defence, and I see John Carter here with us today. They've done a tremendous job, right through to the very grassroots things like somebody having a little sausage sizzle in their street in suburban Auckland and sending a little bit of money, their contribution down to those who have suffered. And of course we particularly feel for those at the front line, the medics, the search and rescue people who are uncovering such horrible sights that none of us would ever want to experience. Pay tribute to people at all levels of society on behalf of the Green Party for the wonderful response across New Zealand. It is appropriate that we have a more formal opportunity as a nation to mourn what has happened, to mourn those who have died, and the ceremony on March 18th will provide it. But I must admit that when I first heard the Prime Minister's announcement of the date, my instinctual reaction was that it was too soon. Most of the bodies of the victims have not been identified and returned to their families. As of today, only 65 of the 166 bodies have been identified, and the families of most of the deceased have not had the opportunity to properly grieve with their loved ones. However, I think that this memorial service will help these families, including the families of the overseas citizens who died, mainly in the CTV building. They will all get to see that the whole of the New Zealand community is behind them and with them in their grief. I hope that the ceremony tomorrow week is more down to earth than many of the ceremonies that we as parliamentarians are involved in. An image in my mind is of a whole lot of dignitaries in suits and ties and formal regalia, and it does clash with another image of my mind going door to door in Aranui suburb of people who haven't been able to wash their clothes for more than 2 weeks, whose toilet is a bucket, and who will find it quite difficult to travel over the cracked and bumpy roads to even get to the Hagley Park event. I certainly hope that they do. It is unfortunate that having a public ceremony so soon and declaring a public holiday, that it's provoked quite a bit of angst and controversy among the good citizens of Christchurch, which you can see on the blogs, which you can see on the comments, for example, on the TV3 website at the moment. And all the points made by people in Christchurch on those websites and blogs are relevant, even if they do clash a bit with each other. Some business owners already on their knees complain about missing a day's work or the cost to them of a paid holiday. Others have replied on the blogs and comments section that the additional cost to business shouldn't override the importance of collectively remembering the tragedy and the huge loss of life. And both sides have a point, and we should welcome such public discussion, not only now but in terms of the future of Christchurch. And I think whether it be on such matters as the Memorial Day, which heritage buildings to reconstruct, or whether to continue with the World Cup at AMI Stadium in Christchurch, we should be open to that discussion. And it did worry me a little bit to read today that reports on the state of AMI Stadium would be shared with the International Rugby Board before the people of Christchurch were told. And it does seem to me that there needs to be a good public discussion about whether the World Cup games should go ahead at that Christchurch Stadium, weighing up all the pluses and minuses, and a lot on either side. I'm worried that there might be a fait accompli, an announcement by the government, the IRB or the Rugby Union, and I hope I'm wrong about that, because while it is likely that there will be a reduction in the financial return if the games are held in Christchurch, and there would be certainly many other difficulties holding the games there, this needs to be balanced against whether the games would be an important morale boost for the people of Christchurch. Now, while this memorial meeting is dedicated to remembering those who died in the earthquake, it will inevitably, to some degree, be an opportunity for us to express our feelings towards all those in Christchurch who have suffered and are still suffering as a result of the earthquake. Just about everyone living in the eastern half of Christchurch has suffered some degree of trauma, and their nightmare has not ended. Nerves are frayed from not knowing just how big the next aftershock will be and how much extra damage it might cause, whether they will be hurt. Then there is the sadness at the loss of precious items in the big quake, worries about when homes will be repaired, if they can be, and where the money might come from. Add to that the daily grind for many of living without water and sewerage for the indefinite future. The Memorial Day will be an opportunity to remember those whose lives were lost, but we'll also be thinking of those whose lives are now badly damaged and are living in their own version of hell. However, the story of Christchurch is also a story of great resilience, of community spirit and togetherness. Going door to door in Aranui offering food and support, I came across a front lawn with a substantial fireplace on it and a pile of wood where the neighbours had been cooking food together. The next door neighbour commented, "It shouldn't take a disaster to bring us together," but together they now are. And this story is repeated across the affected suburbs of Christchurch. Earlier that day, I'd been at Canterbury University watching students mobilising with their shovels for another hard day attacking the liquefaction. It brought tears to my eyes because along with the army, the students have shifted tons and tons of silt that was covering the lawns and drives of so many householders, and they didn't know what to do next. Much of the food that we were distributing on that day in Aranui was home-baked goodies, and I was particularly touched by a set of buns covered with white icing. The person who had cooked them had taken the trouble to add lettering in pink icing to each bun, reading simply, "We love you." That, to me, is the spirit of Christchurch today. So I agree with what Annette King said. We have to take time to grieve. We have to take breath. The memorial meeting on March the 18th is only part of the process. There is a lot more to be done. Everyone in this House, particularly the Christchurch MPs, including the Green MP Kennedy Graham, are doing their utmost to offer assistance. That is to be commended. I think we are working very much in a cross-party spirit, as it should be in such a tragedy, and I think we will all be together next week on March 18 with the people of Christchurch. Thank you.
Ko te oro.